Hey guys, what's up? This is Dim, and today we're going to be doing a review of a rebuildable atomizer called the Magma. Now first off, before we go anywhere with this, I want to show you guys something, so check this out. So check out these two coils. These two coils have been vaped for about a day and a half now. There is not a single change of color, even in the center on the cotton. This is organic cotton. Everything is still completely translucent. So the reason why I wanted to show you that is because this is, yes, it's a rebuildable dripping atomizer, RDA. However, it actually has about a 1 milliliter juice well that you you can drip into and pretty much fill it with e-juice and use it kind of like a sort of tank, but with all the qualities of a dripper. Now let me go ahead and put this back together and show you what the Magma actually looks like. So this is the Magma. It's a little bit bigger than a lot of your standard drippers. However, obviously, like I showed you, there's a reason for that, and because there's a 1 milliliter juice well. Now I'm not going to go ahead and take the whole thing apart to give you guys an idea for that. There's plenty of videos out there, so I just wanted to give you guys my impressions and my thoughts on this. So first of all, the flavor on this is really, really good. And real quick, just to show you what it is not a typical, pull off the top and throw your juice on, sort of like you would, something like a Patriot or something like that. You can drip right down the center hole, and what you do is you simply unscrew the top, which actually has a pretty decent sized chamber up here that leads to a standard, of course, 510 drip tip. And this actually funnels your vapor up through here and kind of condenses it a little bit and just brings it all up in through the mouthpiece through this chamber. And that's all that functions as. And also the hole to drip in. Now you also have a ring that has 9 different holes, with the largest being a 3 millimeter hole on each side. And as you can see from this angle, you can go with a dual coil setup with 2 air holes, 1 on each side, or you can go single coil setup with 1 air hole with nothing on the other side. This is actually very similar to the design to the airflow ring in the Kraken, if you're familiar with that. Now, I personally like to keep it all the way open. However, if I do want to bring out a little bit more if I want to bring out a little bit more throat hit, I will actually reduce it down to the middle one. The smallest one becomes pretty tight. As you can see by the size of the hole, it is really, really small. Then what you have left is essentially it's a dual post style with in the center, there is a Delrin piece right in the center, that little white piece in between the 2 pegs, and that's the Delrin insulator. And then you can build either a single or dual coil setup. Right now I'm running a dual coil setup with 28 gauge wrapped about 5-6 times, and it's a 0.8 ohm coil, which I actually found pretty good. I did have it at a 0.5 ohm coil initially, and it was a bit much. However, the 0.8 ohm to me feels like just the right for this particular device. Now, what's unique about this dripper compared to the other drippers is that the air holes are on the side and the coil is above where my finger is. Now, what this does is it actually acts almost like a J. So the coil goes here and the airflow goes over and up, which brings you right out through the center of the coil. So when you're inhaling, you're bringing air through in here, and it's simply coming up straight through the coil. So you have a direct airflow with the coil, but then you have your wicks going down to the sides into what will hold about 1 milliliter worth of juice. So it is kind of a unique system that you do kind of have a reasonable juice well. I mean, a milliliter of juice is a milliliter of juice. It's about 40 drops or so. And what you do is you run your wick down into that and touch either. I have it touching the bottom of it, and I don't have it pulled around below it. So it's just the 4 posts of the wick, 2 and 2, are just touching the bottom. Now, as I showed you with the wick as it is right now, I've been vaping on this for about a day and change, and I have not gotten a single dry hit. You could tell when it's starting to get a little bit drier, the vape isn't quite as full. But I've never gotten a dry hit. I've never charred the cotton. I've been using, in this tank right now, the wet berries juice that I reviewed the other day. and this is a 50-50 PG-VG blend, so it is a little bit thicker, and there's been absolutely no wicking issues whatsoever. Now, what I like about this, and I know I was doing a tank comparison, and I am working on getting a comparison of the Squape and the K-Fun together for you guys, but then I kind of stumbled across this, and I wanted to do a quick thing about this just to throw this into the mix. So sure, you're not going to get that 3, 4, 5 milliliter all day where the juice, well, 1 milliliter might be all day for you, but it's not for me. So you do still have to drip, but what I like about this is that I don't have to drip every 3 hits when you're doing sub-ohm, 4 hits maybe. So I can drive for 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes, and be perfectly fine. Now granted, it is a milliliter juice, and you can obviously go, you're going to want to fill it up. If you're going to be chain vaping, you're going to be obviously filling it up quite a bit, but a mill is a decent amount. So yeah, it's still really convenient, but it doesn't have, the Squape and the K-Fun and the Kraken have a very different taste compared to that of, say, a Patriot or a rebuildable dripping atomizer, and you guys probably know that already if you've tried it. Now, what I like about this is that it brings the best of both worlds. Not the maximum juice capacity, but also not a tank flavor, which kind of subdues the flavor a little bit. Now, this thing also is actually not bad at chasing clouds, and that's not really I'm not really huge into cloud chasing, so to speak. You know, the 0.1 coils, they're really cool to watch on video, but it's just not for me. But for you guys, if you want to put on a little show for somebody, for the casual vapor, they'll certainly be impressed with these clouds, and I'll show you them in just a short moment. To put this back together, and by the way, the coil assembly is really not hard at all. The 2 holes on the twin post are certainly sizable enough. The 2 28 gauge coils went in there with no problem whatsoever. I would say you could probably go 2 24s without really even batting an eye. I do wish, one gripe about the construction of these posts, and again, this is the clone, is that they're flat top, non-rimmed screws. So you're actually, when I was screwing them down, and you know, you do kind of have to manipulate your coils to get in there. They fit, but you know, you have your 2 drill bits or however you build, and then you're just kind of tightening them down. It would be nice that if they had a rim around the screw, but that's just personal preference. And then you drop the cotton in, and I actually wet it down and then just tapped it into the corners and made sure it wasn't too long or anything. And then from there, all you do is you simply put your ring on and line up where you want it to go. So in this case, since I have dual coil, I'm going to set it up with both of the 3mm holes open on both, one on each side, all the way open. And then what you do is you have to put your finger on there, hold it in place, and then simply screw the top cap on. And threading is pretty decent. You can hear it here. So nice and smooth. It's really not it's not a poorly threaded device by any means, and the threads are nice and smooth. Not the most buttery of threads, but now I did make sure that the tank was pretty empty, so I'm going to go ahead and just drip right into the center. Give it about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do 6 drips for now, and we got one that doesn't want to come out. There we go. Now, one thing to note, it's hard to flood, but it's not hard to make a little bit of a mess. Because when you go on that coil, if you have any juice that drips down that hole, it's the only way it can go is out. There's nowhere else for it to go. So if you over drip, or if you drip onto your coil, which you don't want to do, like with the Patriot or another sort of device similar to that, you can drip right on the coil and it'll actually kind of speed it up. With this, if you drip on the coil, it's going to go straight down into your juice well, or into the airflow channel, and out onto your hands and wherever it may be. So, and of course, if you overfill it, it's going to go down to that deck, and then once it's on that deck, it's going to drip through the holes. So that's how you do have to be careful with leak prevention. And I'll be honest, I've over dripped it just a little bit, and you get more of like a residual splash on the mod, and you just wipe it down and be done with it. But let's give it a quick vape, and let's talk about what happens with this vape. Okay, and I'm using the Sentinel clone. Not a bad little mod, and I'll probably do a video on it, but yeah, anyhow. Alright, so as you can see, the vapor production is pretty good. It's not terrific, but it's also not horrible. Now, what I can tell you about this is that it actually condenses your vape and gives you a stronger throat hit, but also a ton more flavor than my Patriot. A lot more flavor than the Patriot. I don't know why the domed, maybe sucking the air right up through the coil and into that bigger dome, but it is the most flavorful vape that I have ever had. And this is a juice that I said in my previous review that I've ordered about 5 different times and tried it on a number of different devices. And this particular vape is incredible. The flavor is so strong, the throw hit is so nice that it's just a fantastic vape. And at such a relatively inexpensive price, and it's so easy to build on, that I have to absolutely hands down recommend this 2 thumbs up. Fastech, I believe, like I said, is about $15 or so for the Magma clone, and retail you can expect to pay between 30 and probably 40 bucks or whatever. The packaging came in. I picked it up, like I said, I bought it from a retail store. However, I let them keep the packaging, but in the packaging, it actually came with a little mini screwdriver, the same one that you saw in the K-Fun, and I believe it had some silica and some Kanthal, really thin gauge Kanthal, so I didn't need it, but it's a very basic, nondescript black box. It's Infinite, is the clone manufacturer, and they seem to be doing quite a good job with clones lately, so yeah, the Magma, if you haven't tried it, you need to. I know a lot of people seem to be going, like me, to the Patriot as a primary quick dripper or an Enigma clones. Those are kind of the 2 staples. You really should take a step back and go with the Magma. It is not even close in comparison to flavor. Not at all. The build deck is plenty big. The only downside, compared to, say, a Patriot or an Enigma where it's a flat deck, is, in my opinion, when you're dripping in there, the wicks are a little bit longer, although you're not balling them up as much, so it's about the same amount of cotton. Or maybe even a little less in here. But if you fill it up and you have a mil worth of juice, it's a little bit harder to empty it out. If you're kind of changing flavors, and if you're going into a store or a vape meet and you're going to be trying a lot of different juices, this may not be the one you want because it will obviously have quite a bit of residual juice. But as far as wicking is concerned, it never, so far, and I actually tested it last night, I actually filled it up just below the line, and I let it sit straight with the coils intact, or with the wick intact, and it did not overwick where it dripped out the sides. So as long as you kind of keep it around, you can definitely toss it around, but again, be careful, because if you have too much in there, you don't want to get it on the deck. So keep it right side up is probably your safest bet. I was really shocked when I tried this compared to the Patriot or the Enigma, flavor-wise, and even vapor production-wise. The vapor production doesn't necessarily show up terrific against the green screen. However, it's really good. I'm going to take one more hit, and it's running a little long, so we'll wrap this up kind of quickly here. That's what, like a 2-second pull? And you saw how much vapor is coming out of it. It's so crisp, it's so strong. Now, the way that the airflow comes up here is very basic. It's just a big chamber that pulls it kind of as you're pulling it in. And you could hear it. I'll do one more hit by the microphone so you can kind of really pick up the sound. It does kind of sound like you're, I mean, you can certainly hear it. You can hear that you're sucking it in, like kind of like a little a jet whine. But you're pulling a lot of air in, and it's getting right out of there, funneling through that larger cone and into your drip tip and then into your mouth. And it just gives you a lot of flavor. However, it is strong. It is kind of since it's not traveling that far, it can get warm, and it can get a little strong on the throw hit, especially if you're doing lung inhales. So you might want to regulate the airflow. But also, like I said, the 0.5 ohm coil, which is what I keep usually in the Patriot, is a little bit too much for this, for me. I mean, if you guys might, I've seen videos of people doing 0.1 ohm lung hits and all day long. Not for me. So keep that as well. And this is 12 milligram nicotine as well, just to kind of give you an idea for what kind of nick and throw hit I'm dealing with. But yeah, I'll give you a quick hit here so you could hear it. And it's definitely louder than the Patriot, even with the drilled out holes. But here, take a listen. I mean, it's nothing crazy. It's just sucking air through two holes. I might try a single coil setup, but really, the dual coil is working fantastic for me. This, so far, I haven't given the Squape or the K-Fun a full go yet. I got kind of distracted. Ooh. So I'm going to go back to the tanks and factor that in because, again, during the day, if I'm keeping this around, you still need to have, it's certainly not going to be enough to last you, you know, more than an hour. So even though it's a mil, you know that when the wicks are wet and there's, you know, residual juice in there, it's not going to pull everything up. So you do need to keep dripping. So it doesn't have that all day freedom, but it's just, it's definitely my go-to all day, or when I can drip. The added convenience of being able to drip that much more reliably, safely, that cleanly is just really, really nice. And it's a good price for the clone. The build quality seems very nice. It's a nice little brush metal. It actually matches kind of nicely to the Sentinel, actually. If you had a shinier mod, it may not. It is 22 millimeters, so it will fit on your standard mods. The Sentinel actually has a little bit of that cap, so this is not a full 22. But you could see that it does go right in line with this obviously overhanging slightly with the airflow control, but the base will line up just right. So one last vape, and we're going to wrap this up. Delicious. Guys, Magma clone, highly recommend it. Check it out. You can get it pretty much everywhere that carries clone type of products, and especially Fast Tech if you want to wait. $15, $15 to $30. You can't beat this. This will revolutionize the way that you drip, and also give you the ease and convenience. Way better than the 3D dripper, in my opinion. And Magma clone, guys. This is Dim. If you like this video, be sure to share it out, like, comment, and subscribe. Only you guys can help build this channel and help it grow. The more people grow, the more content we can get out, and it would be a great help to me, and I really appreciate it. I'm on Twitter at DimDoes, Instagram /DimDoes, Facebook.com/DimDoes, everywhere DimDoes, right? And check me out, especially on Twitter and Instagram. I do 3D printing, and I have another gaming channel as well, so it's kind of a nice blend of different things, and I'm super interactive, so if you have any questions, drop me a line, and I'll be sure to help you out. This is Dim. Thanks again for watching. This is the Magma clone, and I highly recommend it. See you guys in the next video.